Hello and welcome back to JVSCP. In a huge turn of events, we are today going to be taking a look at 3 safe entries. Who would have thought? But before we get started, I have 2 things I want to say. 1, the third entry of today is an entry that I already know Veeti gave a gold star. So we have that to look forward to. Bit of a little retention trick, that. Something I've picked up on. And second of all, I want to introduce this new thing to the channel, and I know I do this all the time, but this one is going to be pretty simple, but I want to introduce a new sound effect. Whenever you hear this sound, that means that you should look at the video, because I think a lot of people understandably are listening to this type of content, but sometimes there are visuals that are gonna be important. So from here on out, whenever you hear it, stop what you're doing for 2 seconds and look over to make sure you get all of the relevant context. That's it. I don't know if I'm gonna start saying this at the start of every video. That's gonna get tedious, but I want to try this concept. And that's it. Let's start reading. SCP-6799 by Tufto on the SCP Wiki. Object Class: Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-6799 is stored in Secure Containment Locker 12D in the Temporal Anomalies Department at Site-491. Digital copies of the negatives or developed images are available upon request. Description: SCP-6799 is a series of photographic negatives found in a grave near Cassis Province. Foundation scientists have dated the grave and the negatives to the early 14th century. Analysis of the negatives indicates similarities with film used in the early 1980s. The film has undergone extensive damage, with several negatives having been forcibly and clumsily removed. Despite this, they demonstrate an anomalous degree of preservation over so long a time period. The grave is attributed to one Matthew Rameau. And for all the, I don't even know what this is, French, for the French people, I'm sorry that pronunciation is probably garbage, but that's how I'm gonna say it. Matthew Rameau, who is mentioned in 2 local documents as a fisherman whose house was purchased for the construction of a cemetery in 1302. No further information about him has been found. Foundation researchers have been able to develop the negatives of 12 photos. They consist of the following images. 3 images of a clouded sky. A blurred image of several trees. The partially obscured face of a boy, maybe 10 years of age, can be seen apparently holding the camera. The upper spire of a church, matching archaeological findings at the medieval church of Cassis. A man in his mid-20s holding a young girl next to a muddy riverbank. The man is pointing at the camera and looking into it, unsmiling. The girl is laughing but looking slightly to the right of the camera. A large bonfire, apparently in a town square. Footnote: Foundation archaeologists have determined that this is not in Cassis, but maybe in Marseille or Frejus. Several figures can be seen gathered around the bonfire, but their faces are obscured. A small hillside on a cloudy day. 2 teenage girls can be seen ascending it. A picture taken at night. Water and the stern of a small fishing boat can be seen in the camera's flash. A child's drawing made with charcoal on a small rock. The image portrays a man with his head down and 2 girls following him. Nearby, a more skilled hand has drawn a bearded man in a coat, staring at the first man. An unsmiling elderly man lying on a small wooden bed, staring at the camera. An elderly woman by a muddy riverbank, apparently crying, looking slightly to the right of the camera. Addendum 1. Analysis of SCP-6799 has revealed trace amounts of an unusual sodium-based compound. Cross-referencing the Temporal Anomalies Department's archives revealed similarities with a compound used in the experiments of former Foundation researcher Neil Rumsfeld in the late 1980s. However, Rumsfeld died by suicide in 1992 and did not leave extensive notes on the nature of his experiments, so no further information has been ascertained. Dr. Rumsfeld's son, Matthew Rumsfeld, went missing in 1982. So, not gonna lie, this is a first for this channel where I actually feel completely lost. I'm usually a little bit lost. I'm not gonna pretend that I'm like some master analysis here, but honestly, I've got no fucking idea what's happening in this one. So here's your engagement baiting of the day. Could you explain to me exactly what's happening here? Is this a reference to some other known entry, or is it just that I am a bit too mushy in my head today? Because I can't like piece together all of this into a narrative that makes sense to me. So let me know. Let's move on. SCP-2106 by Jacob Conwell from the SCP Wiki. Object Class: Safe. Special Containment Procedures. All instances of 2106-1 are to be kept within the Multiple Subject Aviary at Site-64. And for anyone wondering, I'm just looking into it here. Site-64 is in Portland, Oregon, and it seems to be located in like a dense forest. The cover story that they're using for it is that it's a Parks and Recreation Department maintenance station. It seems to be hidden away deep in nature somewhere. They have a bunch of site functions: research, containment, task force deployment, anomalous material synthesis, monitoring of the 3 Portland's location of interest, monitoring of the Wilson's Wildlife Solutions group of interest. So I guess that's the general overview of this specific site. Instances of -1 are to be fed twice a day and individually examined for injury and general health on site every 2 weeks. In the event that an instance of -1 expires, it is to be immediately replaced by an additional specimen of Corvus corax. And for anyone wondering about that, that's the common raven. In the event of a 1505 outbreak, contaminated instances of -1 are to be immediately isolated and neutralized. The following items are to be left within the aviary for ease of interaction during the appearance of -2 instances: 1 pair of boots, 1 trench coat, 1 pair of gloves, 1 standard pad of paper, 3 black ballpoint pens. Description: SCP-2106-1 currently designates a total of 40 specimens of Corvus corax. Individually, each instance is indistinguishable from non-anomalous specimens of the same species. The anomalous properties of -1 become apparent between the hours of 2200 and 0800 PST. During this time period, all instances of -1 will fall asleep before waking up 15 minutes later to move to a central location where they form SCP-2106-2. -2 is a humanoid entity formed from the combined bodies of all available instances of -1. If provided clothing, -1 instances will form -2 within the articles, including filling such items as boots and gloves. -2 is fully sapient and has demonstrated fluency in English and the ability to communicate via both writing and mimicry of human speech. According to interviews, -2 believes itself to be an individual named Jessica Bradley, a 45-year-old Caucasian female from Tillamook, Oregon. -2 have been able to provide detailed accounts of its life as Miss Bradley up to
9th of November 2011,
but has no knowledge as to how it came to exist in its current state. -2 has largely been cooperative with Foundation personnel to date. A minimum of 25 instances of -1 are required for -2 to successfully form. In the event that fewer than 25 instances of -1 are present at 2200 hours, or if anyone attempts to remove an instance of -1 from the aviary, all instances of -1 will swarm. During these swarm events, 2106-1 instances have demonstrated remarkably collaborative behavior, including attempts to operate door handles, setting up rudimentary traps/ambushes for Foundation personnel, slamming into observation windows en masse, and scratching crude messages/images in the ground in English. Everything, all the other points up to that is just like kinda Raven behavior, right? Like, oh, did you know that they can think like 8 steps ahead, and they have all these abilities to think rationally and solve complex puzzles, but these fuckers also scratch crude messages and images. Love that. Individual instances of -1 that are removed from a 50-meter radius of all other instances lose their anomalous properties at 0800 hours, following the dissipation of -2. Likewise, non-anomalous specimen of Corvus corax became instances of -1 when placed within 50 meters of -1 instances at 2200 hours. It is currently unknown as to whether -2 would be capable of forming again should all instances of -1 be dissipated.
Recovery log. SCP-2106-2 was originally recovered on
15th of November 2011
from the private aviary at the residence of Jessica Bradley outside of Tillamook, Oregon, following viral footage of -2 walking along the Oregon coast. Upon investigation, Foundation personnel found the body of Jessica Bradley within her bed. A subsequent autopsy of Miss Bradley revealed the cause of death to have been an intercerebral hemorrhage. All original 30 instances of -1 were pets that had been kept by Miss Bradley prior to her death.
Addendum-A. Interview Log 1. The following interview was conducted as part of the initial containment of -2. Interviewed SCP-2106-2. Interviewer Dr. Daniel Aislinger. Forward. This interview was done at the end of a standard mental health screening. During interviews prior to this screening, -2 revealed that it remembered the actions of a researcher who had examined several instances of -1 during standard veterinary examinations. Get log.
Alright, Jessica. Before we finish this session, I have just one more topic that I would like to go over with you.
Okay. What do you want to know?
During our last interview, you mentioned several details you remembered about researcher Farrow's veterinary inspection on one of the ravens that makes up your body. Would you care to elaborate?
It's hard to explain. In the morning, I sort of feel like I'm falling asleep. Most of the time, I just black out, and the next thing I know, I'm awake again, and you guys are telling me it's the next day. However, sometimes I dream. Or at least I think I'm dreaming. When I dream, I'm always a raven somewhere in this aviary.
Go on.
The thing is, usually these dreams aren't that exciting. I just kind of go with the flow. Act like I think a raven should. It's kind of nice, you know? It's like slowing your mind down and throwing your worries away. Everything just becomes so simple. That time it was different, though. That man grabbed me and looked me over. He poked and prodded me. It was awful. Just the worst feeling ever. I don't think I've ever been more terrified. And keep in mind, I woke up one day to find out I was suddenly made of birds.
Interesting.
What?
You are aware that the ravens that compose your body fall asleep before they form you every evening, yes?
Wow, really? No, I wasn't aware.
SCP-2106-2 pauses for several moments before continuing to write.
Do you think they dream about being me? Can ravens even dream?
I don't know, Jessica. Maybe?
Maybe.
Addendum B. Interview Log 2. The following interview was conducted following several swarm events. Interviewed SCP-2106-2. Interviewer Researcher Roland Farrow. Forward. This interview was done following a series of testing and observations on -1 collectivist behavior during swarm events. Upon -2's appearance, it moved to the back corner of the aviary and entered the fetal position. Get log.
Jessica? What's going on? Everything all right?
You have to stop doing that.
I'm sorry, I don't follow you. Stop doing what?
The swarms. Stop making them swarm, please. It's like a nightmare. Just fucking stop.
I'm gonna need you to elaborate a little more than that, Jessica. Why do we need to stop the swarms? What happens to you when we trigger those events?
It's like having my mind pulled in 1,000 directions. Normally when 8 a.m. hits, I just dream that I'm one raven. It's nice, it's simple, it's safe, but this, it's not that. I get bounced around from one point of view to another, from one raven to the next. Each one is desperate and afraid and searching for a way to survive. And every time I get moved around, those feelings renew. Each raven leaves a stain on my mind that I can't get out. I still feel their consciousness digging around in the back of my head. They like being me.
They like being you?
They love it. I like being a raven because it makes everything so simple. They like me because it makes everything so complex. Every time you make them swarm, it's because they don't want to give it up. Please, I've done everything you've wanted me to do. I've always cooperated. Please, don't do that anymore.
I can't just make a promise. All instances of -1 composing -2 begin to croak loudly. All attempts at further communication with -2 by researcher Pharaoh are unsuccessful. The croaking continues until 0800 hours.
Following the conclusion of this interview, all attempts by Foundation personnel to verbally communicate with -2 have been blocked by -1 croaking. -2 has been able to successfully communicate via writing notes for Foundation personnel. Instances of -1 have been observed destroying these notes and attacking personnel attempting to retrieve these notes following -2 dissipation at 0800 hours. As of
25th of November 2012,
a one-way Dropbox has been installed in the aviary to allow for continuous communication with -2 without further -1 interference. So get out your bingo cards here. I like this one. Who would have thunk? I know as of the last few years, the internet as a whole has kind of had a fascination with ravens overall, and I mean, how could you not, right? Like, there's something about ravens that they're so gothic, horror, quoth the raven, you know. But they're also these, I guess, reminders of the intelligence of animals. I feel like YouTube has allowed common folk to sort of realize how smart some birds can be. So if any of that is your shit, or I guess if you just think ravens are kinda cool, then it's hard to not enjoy this one, and I feel like I fall into both of those camps. This is great. I will say, as you know, sometimes I do give like a little bit of feedback to the writer, and I try to never be too negative. I don't want to do that here, you know. I have no place to do that, but I will say in this one, if the writer were to listen to this, I feel like this could have done with one more pass. Just like go through it one more time, or any little strange grammatical errors and stuff. I had to correct a few as I went along. Yeah, there's a few points where it was a little confusing to follow exactly what the sentence was supposed to be, but I think overall it definitely worked, and I think that for the little things we managed to patch them over as we went. But let's move on to the last one of the day, and this is the Veeti Gold Star entry. So we already know they thoroughly enjoyed it, so maybe we will too. Let's see. SCP-6150 by TheYellowDuck. Rewritten by Elenee FishTruck from the SCP Wiki. Object Class: Safe. Special Containment Procedures. A single guard monitors 6150's containment cell. Attempts at opening 6150 are forbidden. Description: SCP-6150 is a Voskhod 3kV spacecraft re-entry module bearing heavy exterior damage. Metal implements have welded all apertures on the module shut. An opaque substance covers all viewports on the inside. Occasional noises originate from the object, including metallic pounding, scraping, and muffled vocalizations, seeking help in distressed Russian or screaming. These noises subside after varying amounts of time and have not responded to any stimuli. Foundation personnel discovered 6150 in an abandoned facility near the Baikonur Cosmodrome. Facility interior displayed immense fire damage. No surviving documentation from the facility or otherwise exists in Foundation custody, though a discovered spray-painted message on the entrance wall reads:
Восход 3. Кодовое имя Порог.
Footnote 1, which regards the first of those two Russian words, reads like so: Voskhod 3. pertaining to a thought-unflown space mission, abandoned for lacking visible showmanship compared to NASA's Project Gemini, after power transfer in the Soviet space program between Sergei Korolev and Vasily Mishin. Footnote 2, the second of the Russian words there, says code name Threshold. Context unknown. Scans of the object's interior carry inconsistent results. See attached images. Fuck, these are so good. God damn. Oh, I almost want to pull these into Photoshop and see if we can find anything by brightening them up. So this is the first image. We're going through them in order here. This essentially looks like we're literally seeing into space inside of this little capsule. Let's check out the second one. I'm just like, is that the Milky Way? But maybe it's not. I don't know what I'm looking at here. See the third one. Yo. This is fucking sick. I don't even need to know what I'm looking at to think this is sick. And then there's the last one, which I think is like the most obvious one, where we've got cosmonauts just floating through space, I guess. Yeah, I don't think there's anything in this one. That's fucking sick. That's so good. Yeah, I think I am ready to agree with Veeti here. This is a fucking sick entry. Gold star from the both of us. That's a 2-time gold star. Love an entry with some visuals to it. There's always the risk of it like being a bit gimmicky when you start adding things, but if you do it well and you do it tastefully like they did here, it's just sick. It's just great. And that's it for this episode of JVSCP. Thank you so much for tuning in, and an extra huge thank you to these people that you see on screen right now. And you would never believe, you wouldn't believe what these people have done. It is absolutely insane. These people, they thought to themselves, hey, about once a week, I enjoy the 20 to 60 minutes of content that I get delivered for free right to my ears by the folks over at JVSCP. So I might as well throw out $1, because I mean, I lost $1 the other day. I didn't even notice. They all thought this. Every single one of them lost $1 the week before they made this decision. So if you have also recently lost $1, you could as well just drop it our way, and we'll make use of it. First of all, by getting Veeti a better microphone, but then after that, who knows? Perhaps we'll eat dinner with the money one day. That'd be cool. So huge, large, mega thank you to these people that you see on screen right now. I think you should consider joining them. But that's all we had for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you next week with another chapter of There Is No Anti-Memetics Division. Bye-bye. Warning. Red alert. We've had a containment breach. One of the creatures have escaped. Object class, Keter. Attention, all personnel.